A long motorcycle breaks down on the desolate rural road, leaving its rider stranded. A humble mechanic, struggling to keep his small shop afloat, stops to help, fixing the bike with ingenuity and a generous spirit, refusing any payment. He thinks it's just another good deed in a tough world, unaware that this chance encounter is about to transform his life, his struggling business, and the entire struggling community around him. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of Highway 73, baking the air into a shimmering haze that distorted the distant tree line. Dust devils danced in the fields, ephemeral specters against the relentless blue sky. Along this lonely stretch of road, nestled between forgotten farmlands and sparse, struggling hamlets, stood a single, weathered building, its paint peeling, its sign, Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair, faded by countless summers. Inside, Arthur Quinn, a man whose hands were perpetually stained with grease and engine oil, meticulously tightened a bolt on a sputtering lawnmower engine. His face, etched with the lines of hard work and quiet perseverance, was currently furrowed in concentration. The rhythmic clang of his wrench against metal was the only sound breaking the oppressive afternoon stillness. Arthur was a man of few words, preferring the honest language of machinery to the often disappointing complexities of human interaction. He'd inherited the shop from his grandfather, a legacy of worn tools and invaluable mechanical wisdom passed down through generations. But the modern world, with its increasingly complex vehicles and dwindling rural populations, was slowly strangling the life out of Quinn's repair. Customers were few and far between, often traveling to the larger towns for cheaper, if less personal service. Money was perpetually tight, a constant knot in Arthur's stomach, yet he clung to the shop with a fierce, quiet loyalty. It was more than a business, it was a connection to his past, a testament to his family's enduring presence in this forgotten corner of the world. He believed in honest work, in fixing things properly, and in the unspoken code of helping a neighbor in need, even if that neighbor was a stranger passing through. A sudden, sputtering cough from outside the shop jolted him from his thoughts. The sound was ragged, a strained gasp for mechanical breath, followed by a metallic screech, and then an abrupt, definitive silence. Arthur wiped his hands on a greasy rag, curiosity piquing his otherwise stoic demeanor. It sounded like a bike, and a distressed one at that. He walked out, shielding his eyes against the glaring sun, and saw it. A motorcycle, a sleek, if somewhat road-worn, touring bike, was slumped on its side a few hundred feet down the road, a small, unmoving figure beside it. As he drew closer, he saw a woman, dressed in practical, yet distinctly high-quality, riding gear, carefully trying to right the heavy machine. She was struggling, her movements precise but strained. Her helmet was still on, obscuring her face, but her posture conveyed a mixture of frustration and quiet determination. Trouble? Arthur's voice, usually low and gruff, held a note of genuine concern. The woman jumped, startled, then slowly removed her helmet, revealing a cascade of dark, wind-swept hair and a pair of sharp, intelligent eyes that held a surprising vulnerability. Her face, though smudged with dust, was strikingly elegant, her features finely chiseled, suggesting a world far removed from the dusty stretches of Highway 73. "Looks like it," she replied, her voice slightly strained, a hint of cultured refinement in her tone. "It just died. No warning, everything seized." Arthur knelt beside the bike, his practiced eyes quickly assessing the damage. He ran a hand over the cold metal, feeling for vibrations, listening for residual clicks and groans. It was a beautiful machine, clearly well-maintained before its sudden demise. "Engine seized," he confirmed, his voice matter-of-fact. "Sounds like a connecting rod broke. Probably punched right through the crankcase. You're not going anywhere on this today." A sigh escaped her lips, a sound of weary resignation. "Great. I'm miles from anywhere, and I have an important meeting tomorrow morning." She looked around at the desolate landscape, then back at his humble shop, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "Can you Can you even fix something like this? Arthur straightened up, his gaze meeting hers. I can fix anything with an engine, ma'am. Might take some doing, though. Getting parts for a bike like this out here won't be quick. He didn't mention the precarious state of his own finances, the dwindling inventory, the empty shelves that haunted his waking hours. He simply stated the facts. How long? She asked, her brow furrowed with concern. He scratched his chin, mentally calculating. If I can even find a compatible engine block, or a good used one, maybe a week. 2, if I have to order parts from out of state. Her shoulders slumped. A week? I can't wait a week. I need to be in the city by tomorrow morning. She pulled out her phone, then groaned. And no signal out here, of course. Arthur considered her for a moment. He saw the desperation in her eyes, the very real problem she faced. His pragmatic mind began to churn, searching for solutions, even unconventional ones. He had a few old motorcycle engines salvaged from long-abandoned projects, rusty relics from a bygone era. They weren't a perfect fit, but with enough ingenuity, enough tinkering, he might be able to Frankenstein something together. Just enough to get her to the nearest town with a bus station or a car rental. Look, he said, I might have a way to get you running, at least to the next town. It won't be pretty, and it won't be permanent, but it'll get you where you need to go. He gestured towards the shop. Bring it over. We'll see what we can do. Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of hope amidst the frustration. You would? What about payment? I imagine this kind of roadside assistance, plus parts. Arthur waved a dismissive hand. Don't worry about that now. Just get the bike over. We'll figure it out. He didn't have much, but he had his skills, his time, and an innate sense of duty. And watching a stranger stranded on Highway 73 simply wasn't in his nature. He walked towards the shop, already mentally rummaging through his collection of forgotten parts. A faint, almost forgotten spark of excitement igniting within him. This was a challenge, a genuine mechanical puzzle. And for Arthur Quinn, that was payment enough. Pushing the heavy motorcycle, even with Arthur's help, was a sweat-inducing effort under the relentless sun. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, pulled off her thick riding jacket, revealing a simple dark t-shirt and toned arms. She worked efficiently, her movements strong and purposeful, despite the grime that was beginning to accumulate on her face. There was a quiet intensity about her, a focused determination that Arthur recognized from his own solitary pursuits. They finally maneuvered the bike into the dim, cavernous space of Quinn's repair. The air inside was thick with the familiar scents of oil, gasoline, and aged metal, a comforting aroma to Arthur, but perhaps less so to his sophisticated-looking client. She looked around the cluttered workshop, her gaze sweeping over the dusty shelves, the stacks of old tires, the disassembled engines scattered across various workbenches. Her expression was unreadable, but she didn't flinch from the raw, unpolished reality of his world. All right, Arthur said, rubbing his hands together, a faint smile touching his lips. Let's see what we're working with here. He grabbed a creeper and slid under the bike, flashlight in hand, his movements fluid and practiced. The woman knelt beside him, watching intently, a silent, attentive presence. As he worked, a steady stream of diagnostic murmurs escaped him, a quiet monologue about seized pistons and shattered bearings. He explained his improvised plan, sketching out diagrams in the dust on a nearby workbench. I've got an old engine block from a 1980s Honda Shadow, he explained, pointing to a rusty, forgotten hulk in a corner. It's not perfect, but I can adapt the mounts, rig up the fuel lines, and connect the electrical. It'll be rough, but it'll get you to the nearest town, Willow Creek, about 50 miles from here. You can rent a car there. Or catch the morning bus. She listened, her intelligent eyes following his explanations, asking surprisingly insightful questions about the mechanics. So, you're essentially building a hybrid engine? She asked, a faint note of awe in her voice. Something like that. Arthur grunted, already absorbed in the task of disassembling the damaged engine. Necessity is the mother of invention. Out here, hours passed in the dim light of the shop. Arthur worked with a singular focus, his hands moving with an almost surgical precision, selecting tools from his worn toolbox, his brow furrowed in concentration. The makeshift engine swap was a delicate dance of improvisation and brute force. He adapted mounts, rewired connections, and wrestled stubborn parts into place. Sweat beaded on his forehead, mingling with grease, but he never stopped, driven by an innate desire to see a machine, any machine, hum to life again. The woman, instead of retreating to the small, dusty waiting area, stayed by his side, occasionally handing him a tool, holding a flashlight steady, or simply watching in quiet fascination. She didn't offer unsolicited advice, nor did she make small talk. Her presence was calming, a silent acknowledgement of his expertise, the genuine respect for his craft. He learned a few things about her in those hours. She was on a long road trip, heading north from the city. She had a keen eye for detail and an almost intuitive grasp of the mechanical explanations he offered. She mentioned, vaguely, important work and community initiatives, phrases that seemed far too grand for the dusty reality of Highway 73. As dusk began to settle, painting the windows a deep orange, Arthur finally stood up, wiping his hands on a rag, a weary but triumphant sigh escaping his lips. The Honda Shadow engine, battered but humming, sat snugly in the frame of the touring bike, a Frankenstein's monster of mechanical ingenuity. "All right," he announced, his voice raspy. Moment of truth. He climbed onto the bike, adjusted the choke, and pressed the ignition. The engine sputtered once, then caught, roaring to life with a satisfying, if slightly uneven rumble. It wasn't the smooth purr of its original engine, but it was alive. It was powerful. It was working. The woman let out a gasp, a genuine sound of relief and exhilaration. A wide, uninhibited smile broke across her face, lighting up the dim workshop. "You did it!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Arthur, you're a miracle worker." He chuckled, a rare sound. "Just a mechanic, ma'am. One with a lot of spare parts and stubbornness." She walked around the bike, admiring his handiwork, a silent reverence in her gaze. "This is incredible. Truly. I don't know how to thank you." She reached into her riding jacket, pulling out a worn leather wallet. "Please, tell me what I owe you. For your time, for the parts, for saving my day." Arthur held up a hand. "Nothing, ma'am. Just glad to help. Happened to have the parts on hand, and it was a good challenge." He saw the faint surprise in her eyes, the unexpected generosity in a world often driven by profit. He lived by a simple code. A stranded traveler, especially one in a bind, deserved a hand up, not a bill. The satisfaction of a job well done, of seeing her smile, was payment enough. Besides, he doubted she had the cash for the true value of the work he'd just put in, and he wasn't about to haggle. Her smile softened, a warmth radiating from her that belied the elegance of her demeanor. "Arthur Quinn," she said, extending her hand. "My name is Eleanor Vance, and I insist. You spent hours on this. You dug up parts. This isn't just a favor, it's a significant investment of your time and skill." He took her hand, his calloused fingers briefly clasping her surprisingly soft ones. "Eleanor Vance," he repeated, the name rolling oddly on his tongue. "Well, Eleanor, glad to be of service. Just promise me you'll get it properly serviced once you reach your destination. This is a temporary fix, remember." She nodded, her eyes still holding that mixture of awe and gratitude. "I will. And Arthur, I won't forget this. Your kindness, your ingenuity. It's truly remarkable." She hesitated for a moment, her gaze sweeping around his dusty, struggling shop, then back to his tired but content face. "You deserve more, Arthur. A lot more." He merely shrugged, dismissing the compliment. "Just doing my job, man." He watched as she put her helmet back on, a flash of her determined eyes visible through the visor. She kicked the stand up, settled onto the bike, and gave the engine a gentle rev. It coughed, then settled into its rough but steady idle. "Thank you, Arthur," she called over the engine's rumble. "Thank you for everything." She waved, a simple, heartfelt gesture, then pulled away. the old Honda engine protesting slightly as she accelerated onto Highway 73. The bike, a mechanical phoenix, roared off into the twilight, its taillights shrinking to a tiny red pinprick before vanishing entirely. Arthur watched her go, a profound weariness settling over him. He was tired, hungry, and still perpetually worried about money, but a quiet warmth spread through him, a rare feeling of satisfaction. He had helped someone. He had brought a machine back to life. And for a moment, the heavy weight of his struggling business, the constant anxiety of dwindling customers, felt a little lighter. He didn't know that Eleanor Vance, the elegant stranger he had just helped, was carrying more than just a broken motorcycle and a tight schedule. She was carrying a vision, a network of powerful connections, and a profound sense of gratitude that would soon transform his dusty, forgotten shop into the unlikely heart of a burgeoning new future. He simply returned to his workbench, already mentally preparing for another lonely, quiet day, completely unaware that the wheels of change, set in motion by his simple act of kindness, were already turning, irrevocably, in his favor. The days that followed Eleanor Vance's departure were a return to Arthur's familiar routine of quiet struggle. The incident with the motorcycle felt like a distant, almost dreamlike memory, a brief spark of excitement in the monotonous rhythm of his life. He fixed a sputtering tractor for Old Man Hemlock, changed the oil in Mrs. Gable's ancient sedan, and spent hours trying to diagnose an elusive electrical problem in a farmer's pickup truck. The meager earnings barely covered his overhead, and the stack of unpaid bills on his desk seemed to grow taller with each passing week. The worn leather of his grandfather's armchair, where he often sat contemplating his dwindling finances, felt heavier than usual. He often thought about Eleanor, wondering if she had made it to her important meeting. Her elegance, her quiet determination, and the genuine gratitude in her eyes had left a lingering impression. It wasn't often that someone like her passed through this forgotten stretch of road. He remembered the uninhibited smile that had transformed her face when the makeshift engine roared to life, a small, yet powerful testament to the joy he derived from his work. But such moments of connection were fleeting, rare commodities in his isolated existence. He dismissed any notion of her returning. People like Eleanor Vance didn't look back. They moved forward, their lives unfolding in a world far removed from his. Weeks bled into a month, then another. The summer heat intensified, making the air in the shop thick and heavy. Arthur's worries deepened. He needed a significant influx of cash to keep the shop running, to replace aging equipment, to even consider hiring help. The thought of closing Quinn's repair, of letting his grandfather's legacy die, was a bitter pill, a constant ache in his chest. He was a man of integrity, deeply rooted in his community, however small it had become. The idea of leaving, of seeking work in the sprawling, impersonal city, was anathema to him. One sweltering Tuesday afternoon, as he was wrestling with a particularly stubborn exhaust manifold, a sleek, dark sedan, an expensive model he recognized from car magazines, glided to a silent halt outside his shop. It was an anomaly on Highway 73, a stark contrast to the rusty pickups and weathered sedans that usually populated his small parking area. Arthur straightened up, wiping his hands, a flicker of curiosity stirring within him. Perhaps a lost tourist, or someone with a very high-end problem. The car door opened, and a figure emerged, dressed in a sharp, impeccably tailored dark suit. Her dark hair was neatly pulled back, her posture poised and confident. As she turned, Arthur's eyes widened in recognition. It was Eleanor Vance. She looked different, transformed from the dusty, determined motorcyclist he remembered. Her elegance was now amplified by her attire, her presence exuding an undeniable aura of power and sophistication. She carried a sleek leather briefcase in one hand, her movements deliberate and purposeful. This was not a chance encounter. This was a planned visit. Arthur felt a strange mixture of surprise, apprehension, and a faint, almost disbelieving hope. Why was she here? Had the temporary fix failed? Was she back for a proper repair, now that she had reached her destination? Eleanor walked towards him, her gaze direct, a faint, polite smile on her lips. Arthur Quinn, she said, her voice clear and resonant, completely devoid of the weariness he remembered. Do you remember me? Eleanor Vance, Arthur replied, his voice a little gruff, still processing her unexpected return. Of course. Is the bike giving you trouble? She shook her head. No, Arthur. The bike is running perfectly, thanks to your remarkable ingenuity. I had it serviced properly once I reached the city, and they were astonished by your temporary repair. They called it a mechanical marvel. Her smile widened, a genuine warmth radiating from her eyes. But I'm not here about the motorcycle, at least not directly. She paused, her gaze sweeping around his dusty, cluttered shop, her eyes taking in every detail, from the ancient lift to the overflowing shelves of parts. Her expression was thoughtful, assessing. Arthur, she continued, her voice lowering slightly, when you helped me that day, you refused payment. You simply offered your skill, your time, and your generosity. That kind of selfless act, that level of genuine kindness and ingenuity, is rare, especially in today's world. She gestured towards the neglected landscape outside the shop. And especially in rural communities like this, where resources are often scarce and opportunities even more so. Arthur shifted uncomfortably, unaccustomed to such direct praise. Just doing my job, ma'am, he mumbled, the familiar phrase rolling off his tongue. No, Arthur, Eleanor corrected, her voice firm, yet gentle. It was more than that. It was a revelation. It sparked an idea, a confirmation of a vision I've been cultivating for some time. She opened her briefcase, pulling out a sheaf of meticulously organized documents and a sleep tablet. My work involves philanthropy, she explained, her gaze fixed on his. Specifically, I lead an initiative that focuses on revitalizing struggling rural communities by establishing sustainable skills training programs. We identify individuals with exceptional, often underutilized, talents, and we provide the resources, the funding, and the infrastructure to help them build local businesses, create jobs, and empower their communities from within. Arthur listened, his mind slowly grasping the enormity of her words. Rural job initiative? Skills training programs? It sounded like something out of a television documentary, utterly removed from the daily reality of Quinn's repair. Eleanor stepped closer, her eyes shining with a quiet passion. When I saw your ingenuity, your dedication, your ability to make something out of nothing, I realized that your shop, Arthur, could be the perfect cornerstone for our first major project in this region. We're calling it the Rural Revitalization Fund, and we want to start right here, with you. Arthur stared at her, dumbfounded. His shop? A cornerstone? The words swirled in his head, a dizzying cascade of possibility that seemed too good, too fantastical, to be true. He, a struggling mechanic in a forgotten corner of the world, was suddenly being presented with an opportunity that felt utterly beyond his wildest dreams. The air in the dusty workshop suddenly felt charged, vibrant with an unexpected, overwhelming promise. His simple act of kindness on Highway 73 had indeed launched something far, far bigger than he could have ever imagined. The air in Quinn's autocycle repair, usually heavy with the scent of oil and resignation, now crackled with an almost electric energy. Arthur stood across from Eleanor Vance, still struggling to reconcile the elegant philanthropist in the bespoke suit with the dusty motorcyclist he had helped just weeks ago. Her words, fully funded, job initiative, revitalizing communities, echoed in the quiet space, each one a stark contrast to the daily anxieties that typically plagued him. Eleanor, sensing his bewilderment, offered a reassuring smile. I understand this might be a lot to take in, Arthur. Please, sit down. She gestured to the worn plastic chairs in the small waiting area, a place usually reserved for impatient customers. Arthur, feeling as though he had stepped into an alternate reality, numbly took a seat. She opened her briefcase, pulling out a glossy brochure and laying it on the chipped formica table between them. The cover depicted a vibrant, thriving rural community, bustling with activity, a stark contrast to the quiet decay of Highway 73. Our foundation, the Vance Global Philanthropy Group, she began, her voice calm and clear, has a mission to empower underserved communities, We believe that true revitalization comes from investing in local talent, nurturing existing skills, and creating sustainable opportunities from within. She flipped through the brochure, highlighting various projects: a textile cooperative in Appalachia, a sustainable farming initiative in the Midwest, a vocational training center in a remote corner of Africa. Each project, though vastly different in scope, shared a common thread: empowering local communities by leveraging their inherent strengths. Your shop, Arthur, she continued, her gaze unwavering, is precisely the kind of local asset we seek. Your skill set, your work ethic, your willingness to help a stranger without expectation of reward. These are the qualities we want to champion. We want to transform Quinn's Repair into a state-of-the-art training center, a hub where young people from this region can learn valuable automotive and mechanical skills, gaining certifications that will open doors for them. Arthur's mind reeled. State-of-the-art? Training center? He looked around his dusty, outdated shop, the ancient lift groaning under the weight of a rusty pickup. It was almost laughable. We envision a comprehensive program, Eleanor explained, oblivious to his internal skepticism, her voice imbued with a quiet passion. We'll fund a complete renovation of the existing structure, equip it with the latest diagnostic tools and machinery, and establish classrooms for theoretical instruction. We'll cover all operational costs, including salaries for instructors and scholarships for students. You, Arthur, would be the lead instructor, overseeing the practical training and lending your invaluable expertise. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. This isn't about charity, Arthur, not in the traditional sense. It's an investment in potential, in a future for this community. We're not just fixing cars. We're building careers. We're fostering economic growth. We're giving young people a reason to stay, to thrive, right here. Right here. Arthur found his voice a little shaky. But why me? Why my shop? There are bigger, better mechanics out there. Shops with more modern equipment. Eleanor's gaze softened. Because, Arthur, you possess something that cannot be bought or taught. Integrity, resourcefulness, and a genuine heart. When you fixed my motorcycle, you weren't looking at my expensive bike or my attire. You saw a problem, and you found a solution, using what you had, driven by a desire to help. That resourcefulness, that ingenuity in the face of limited resources, is precisely what we need to teach. And your refusal of payment, that spoke volumes about your character. We believe that true skill is passed down, nurtured by mentors like you, not just by textbooks. She pushed a thick folder across the table towards him. This contains a detailed proposal, including financial projections, architectural renderings, and a preliminary curriculum outline. Take your time to review it. Consult with anyone you wish. We're prepared to invest over $2 million in this initial phase alone, with ongoing funding contingent on program success. $2 million. The sum hung in the air, a fantastical number in his perpetually cash-strapped world. It was enough to wipe out all his debts, to modernize the shop, to secure his future and the future of countless others. It was an overwhelming, almost terrifying proposition. Arthur picked up the folder, his hands trembling slightly, the weight of the proposal feeling impossibly heavy. He looked at the polished architectural drawings, seeing a transformed Quinn's Repair, a gleaming modern facility, a beacon of opportunity in the rural landscape. It was his shop, but utterly reinvented, reborn. "What's the catch?" he asked, his voice raw, suspicion ingrained from years of navigating a tough world. Foundations don't just hand out millions for nothing. What do you want in return? Eleanor's smile remained unwavering. We want success, Arthur. We want to see young people trained, employed, and contributing to this community. We want to see a model that can be replicated in other struggling rural areas. And we want your unwavering commitment to teaching, to mentoring, to passing on your invaluable knowledge. That's the return on our investment. She stood up, gathering her briefcase. Think about it, Arthur. This is an opportunity, not just for you, but for this entire region. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, the proposal is yours. She extended a hand, her grip firm and confident. It was an honor to meet you again, Arthur. I look forward to your decision. Arthur shook her hand, his mind still reeling. He watched as she walked out, her footsteps echoing on the concrete floor, her expensive sedan gliding silently away, leaving him alone in his dusty, suddenly impossibly small workshop. The folder lay open on the table, the glossy pages green, reflecting the dim light, offering a tantalizing glimpse of a future he had never dared to dream. His simple act of kindness, fixing a stranger's motorcycle, had indeed launched a rural job initiative, and his life, along with the fate of Kaf, his ancestral shop, was about to be irrevocably transformed. The weight of the decision, the enormity of the responsibility, settled heavily on his shoulders, but beneath it, a tiny, unfamiliar spark of excitement began to glow. The 2 weeks following Eleanor Vance's extraordinary proposal were a whirlwind of disbelief, cautious optimism, and intense contemplation for Arthur. The glossy brochure, with its tantalizing vision of a modernized Quinn's repair, transformed into a vibrant training center, became his constant companion. He devoured every page of the detailed proposal, scrutinizing financial projections, examining curriculum outlines, and poring over architectural renderings that depicted his worn shop, reborn as a gleaming beacon of opportunity. His initial skepticism, a deeply ingrained defense mechanism against disappointment, slowly began to erode, replaced by a growing sense of awe and a faint, unfamiliar hope. He consulted with his closest friends, Old Man Hemlock, who had been a loyal customer for decades, and Maria Sanchez, the owner of the only general store in the nearby hamlet of Willow Creek. Both, after overcoming their initial shock, urged him to seize the opportunity. "Arthur, my boy," Old Man Hemlock rasped, his eyes twinkling, "you always had a good heart, and hands that could fix anything. This ain't just about money. It's about giving these young'uns a chance. Lord knows this town needs it." Maria, ever the pragmatist, saw the broader implications. "Think of the business, Arthur. New people coming through, instructors, students, all needing supplies, food, a place to stay. It would breathe life back into Willow Creek, not just your shop." Her words, focusing on the ripple effect, painted a compelling picture of community revitalization. Despite their encouragement, Arthur wrestled with the magnitude of the decision. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about taking on a massive responsibility, becoming the face of a potentially transformative initiative. He, Arthur Quinn, the quiet mechanic, was being asked to lead, to teach, to inspire. It was a daunting prospect for a man who preferred the predictable solitude of his workbench. The idea of managing staff, dealing with bureaucracy, and standing in front of Idra's students felt alien, almost overwhelming. He spent long hours in the shop, walking through its familiar spaces, imagining the new equipment, the dedicated classrooms, the bustling atmosphere that Eleanor had described. He thought of the young people in the surrounding area, many of whom left for the city after high school, unable to find meaningful work, their talents uncultivated. The idea of offering them a future, right here, in their own community, stirred something deep within him, a sense of purpose that transcended his personal anxieties. When Eleanor returned precisely 2 weeks later, the same sleek sedan pulling up to his shop, Arthur was waiting. He had made his decision, though the tremor in his hands betrayed a lingering nervousness. He met her outside, a quiet resolve in his eyes. "Arthur," Eleanor greeted, her smile warm, her gaze probing. "Have you had a chance to review the proposal?" "I have," he replied, his voice steady. He gestured towards the waiting area. "Come inside. There's a lot to discuss." They sat across the chipped formica table once more, the thick folder now open between them. Arthur took a deep breath. "Eleanor," he began, "this is extraordinary, beyond anything I could have ever imagined. It's a tremendous opportunity, not just for me, but for this whole region." He paused, looking directly at her. "I'll do it. I'll take on the role of lead instructor. I'll dedicate myself to this. But I have conditions." Eleanor's eyebrows raised slightly, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "Conditions? Please, articulate them." First, Arthur said, his voice firm. This shop, Quinn's Repair. It stays Quinn's Repair. The name, the legacy, that stays. It's not just a business. It's family. It's history. It's what this community knows. Eleanor nodded, a gentle smile. That's perfectly acceptable, Arthur. We respect the historical significance and the community ties. The Quinn's Repair Vocational Training Center sounds quite fitting. Second, Arthur continued, I want to say in the curriculum. I know the proposal has a good framework, but I want to ensure the training is practical, hands-on, focused on real-world problems. Not just theoretical. I want these kids to learn how to diagnose an engine by sound, how to feel a loose bearing, how to improvise when the exact part isn't available. That's the art of mechanics, not just the science. Absolutely, Eleanor affirmed, her eyes gleaming with approval. Your practical expertise is precisely why we chose you. Your input will be invaluable. We'll work together to refine the curriculum to ensure it meets both industry standards and your unique insights. And third, Arthur hesitated, then plunged forward. I want to ensure that a significant portion of the training focuses on older vehicles, classic cars, agricultural machinery, even small engines like lawnmowers, and generators. That's what this region needs. That's where the immediate job opportunities are. Not just modern computer diagnostics, but the foundational skills that are slowly being lost. Eleanor listened intently, a thoughtful expression on her face. That's an excellent point, Arthur. Our initial focus was on modern automotive technology, but your understanding of the local economic landscape is crucial. We can absolutely adapt the curriculum to incorporate a strong emphasis on practical, traditional mechanical skills relevant to rural needs. That will make the graduates even more indispensable here. She leaned forward, a new spark of excitement in her eyes. This is precisely the kind of collaborative input we value, Arthur. You understand the unique needs of this community better than anyone. Arthur felt a surge of relief. His concerns were being addressed, his values respected. He was not just a pawn in some grand philanthropic scheme. He was a vital partner, his voice heard, his expertise valued. One more thing, he added, a slight tremor in his voice. The students. I want them to be from here. From Willow Creek, from the surrounding farmlands, from the families who've struggled to make ends meet. I want to give them a real chance, a pathway to a secure future, without having to leave their homes. Eleanor reached across the table, placing a hand over his, her touch firm and reassuring. That, Arthur, is our primary objective. This initiative is designed specifically to stem the outflow of young talent from rural areas, to build local economies, to empower these communities from within. Your commitment to these young people, to your community, is exactly why you are the perfect partner for us. She smiled, a warmth radiating from her that dispelled any lingering doubts. Welcome to the team, Arthur. This is going to be remarkable. We'll start with the renovation plans immediately. Our architectural team will be here next week to assess the site. We'll begin recruiting students within 3 months and aim to launch the first training cohort by the end of the year. Arthur nodded, a profound sense of purpose settling over him. The weight of responsibility was immense, but it was now coupled with an exhilarating sense of possibility. He looked around his old, dusty shop, seeing not just its present reality, but its future potential, gleaming and vibrant. A single, selfless act of kindness on a lonely highway had set in motion a chain of events that would not only transform his life, but ignite a spark of hope and opportunity for an entire forgotten community. Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair was about to embark on its most important repair yet, the repair of a future. The transformation of Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair began swiftly, a whirlwind of activity that shattered the decades of quiet stagnation. Within days of Arthur's agreement, a team of architects, engineers, and contractors descended upon the weathered building, their hard hats and blueprints a stark contrast to the familiar grease stains and dusty tools. The quiet hum of the old refrigerator was replaced by the roar of heavy machinery, the rhythmic clang of construction. Arthur, accustomed to the solitary rhythm of his work, found himself perpetually surrounded by people, bombarded with questions about structural integrity, electrical schematics, and ventilation systems. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a consultant, a project manager, a liaison between the practicalities of a working shop and the ambitious vision of a modern training facility. It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. He found himself learning new terminology, grappling with complex blueprints, and even, to his surprise, enjoying the collaborative energy of the team. Eleanor Vance was a constant guiding presence throughout the process. She made weekly visits, flying in on a private jet, her sharp mind effortlessly navigating the complexities of construction, finance, and community engagement. She spent hours with Arthur, discussing design choices, material selections, and the nuanced details of the curriculum. She listened intently to his ideas, valuing his practical insights, and subtly nudging him to embrace the larger vision. He saw her not just as a philanthropist, but as a brilliant strategist, a woman with an uncanny ability to turn ambitious ideas into tangible realities. Their conversations, initially formal, evolved into a comfortable, almost easy dialogue built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to the project. The renovation was meticulous, respecting the original structure while integrating modern amenities. The old, leaky roof was replaced with new, insulated panels. The uneven concrete floor was leveled and sealed. The dim, flickering fluorescent lights gave way to bright, energy-efficient LED panels, illuminating every corner of the vast space. The dusty, cluttered shop was systematically cleared, its contents cataloged and either stored, donated, or meticulously organized. New lifts, gleaming diagnostic equipment, and state-of-the-art welding stations were installed, transforming the once bare-bones repair shop into a fully equipped, professional training environment. Beyond the main workshop, classrooms were built, a spacious lecture hall with multimedia capabilities, smaller breakout rooms for theoretical instruction, and even a dedicated computer lab with specialized HANAR, automotive software. A comfortable lounge area with a small kitchenette was designed for students, creating a welcoming, collaborative space. The exterior, once faded and nondescript, was given a fresh coat of paint, a vibrant, modern hue that still subtly echoed the original character of the building. The faded Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair sign was replaced with a new, illuminated one, proudly proclaiming, "Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair Vocational Training Center." The transformation generated a buzz throughout the entire region. Local newspapers ran regular updates, featuring photographs of the ongoing construction and interviews with Eleanor and Arthur. The story of the chance encounter, the struggling mechanic, and the philanthropist became a local legend, a testament to the unexpected power of a simple act of kindness. Hope, a commodity often scarce in these rural areas, began to bloom. Young people, disillusioned by the lack of opportunities, began to inquire about the program, their eyes alight with a newfound sense of possibility. Arthur, despite his newfound role, never abandoned his hands-on approach. He often found himself working alongside the contractors, offering practical advice, lending a hand with heavy lifting, his familiarity with every nook and cranny of the old building proving invaluable. He learned about structural load-bearing, electrical wiring diagrams, and HVAC systems, his mechanical mind absorbing new information with the same focused intensity he applied to engine diagnostics. He was a student, as much as he was a leader, in this grand undertaking. One afternoon, as the last of the major construction equipment was being removed, leaving behind a pristine, ready-to-furnish interior, Arthur and Eleanor stood together in the vast main workshop. The space, once a solitary realm, now felt expansive, waiting to be filled with the energy of eager students. "It's incredible, Eleanor," Arthur said, his voice laced with a profound sense of wonder. "I never thought I'd see this place look like this. It's magnificent." Eleanor smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "It's the physical manifestation of a vision, Arthur. But the true transformation will happen when we fill it with students, when we equip them with the skills to build their own futures." She turned to him, her gaze serious. "Are you ready for that, Arthur? Ready to teach? To mentor? To lead?" Arthur took a deep breath, the responsibility of it all settling heavily, yet exhilaratingly, on his shoulders. He thought of his grandfather, the quiet wisdom in his eyes, the legacy he had passed down. He thought of the young people in this forgotten region, their untapped potential, their desperate need for opportunity. "I'm ready, Eleanor," he affirmed, his voice firm, resolute. "More ready than I've ever been. It won't be easy, but I'll give it everything I've got. For them, for this community, for this place." He looked around the gleaming, revitalized shop, a quiet pride swelling within him. The solitary mechanic was about to become a mentor, a leader, a catalyst for change. His simple act of repairing a broken motorcycle had indeed launched a rural job initiative, but it had also, more profoundly, launched Arthur Quinn into a future he never knew he was destined to lead. The transformation of his shop was complete, but the true work, the work of shaping lives and revitalizing a community, was just beginning. And for the first time in a long time, Arthur Quinn felt a powerful, unwavering sense of purpose. The launch of the Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair Vocational Training Center was more than just an opening. It was a celebration. The ribbon-cutting ceremony drew a crowd of dignitaries, local residents, and eager prospective students, all buzzing with anticipation. Eleanor Vance stood beside Arthur, radiant in a cream-colored suit, her presence lending an undeniable gravitas to the event. She spoke eloquently about the Vance Global Philanthropy Group's commitment to rural revitalization, highlighting Arthur's unwavering integrity and the critical role his expertise would play. When it was Arthur's turn to speak, he felt a familiar tremor of nervousness, but it was quickly overshadowed by a profound sense of pride and gratitude. He wasn't accustomed to public speaking, preferring the quiet language of wrenches and engines. Yet, as he looked out at the faces in the crowd, at the eager young people whose futures now held a glimmer of hope, the words came naturally, imbued with a quiet sincerity. "This isn't just a building," Arthur began, his voice a little gruff, but clear and resonant. "And it's not just a school. This is a place where young hands will learn old skills, where ingenuity will be nurtured, and where a new generation will find their purpose, right here in their own community." He gestured towards the gleaming workshop behind him. "My grandfather built this shop with his own two hands, fueled by hard work and a belief in honest craft. We honor that legacy by transforming it into a place that will build more than just engines, it will build futures." He spoke of Eleanor's vision, of her unwavering support, and of the incredible opportunity she had brought to their doorstep. He concluded with a simple, heartfelt promise. "We will make you proud." The applause that followed was heartfelt, genuine, a powerful affirmation of the community's hope. The first cohort of students, a diverse group of 15 young men and women ranging in age from 18 to early 20s, arrived the following Monday. They were a mix of recent high school graduates, restless individuals seeking a new direction, and some who had already experienced the disillusionment of dead-end jobs. Their initial expressions were a mixture of awe at the state-of-the-art facility and hesitant curiosity about the quiet, grizzled mechanic, who was now their lead instructor. Arthur, in turn, approached his new role with the same meticulous dedication he applied to engine repair. He broke down complex mechanical principles into easily digestible concepts, using vivid analogies and practical demonstrations. He didn't just teach from textbooks, he taught from experience, sharing anecdotes from decades of troubleshooting stubborn engines and coaxing life back into seemingly hopeless machines. He emphasized hands-on learning, allowing students to get their hands dirty, to feel the weight of a tool, to understand the tactile language of metal and oil. The curriculum, developed in collaboration with Eleanor's educational consultants and refined by Arthur's practical insights, was comprehensive. It covered everything from basic engine mechanics and electrical systems to advanced diagnostics, welding, and even the nuances of classic car restoration, a particular passion of Arthur's. He also incorporated modules on small engine repair, agricultural machinery, and even basic fabrication, recognizing the diverse needs of the rural community. He discovered an unexpected joy in teaching. Watching a student's eyes light up as they finally understood a complex concept, seeing their satisfaction as they successfully reassembled an engine or witnessing their pride as they welded their first strong joint filled him with a profound sense of fulfillment. He was not just passing on knowledge, he was igniting passions, building confidence, and shaping futures. He found himself staying late, offering extra guidance, answering endless questions, his boundless patience a surprise even to himself. Eleanor continued her regular visits, observing the classes, speaking with the students, and meeting with Arthur to discuss progress. She was particularly impressed by Arthur's natural aptitude for teaching, his ability to connect with the students on a personal level. She saw the quiet transformation in him, the newfound purpose that radiated from his once reserved demeanor. The struggling mechanic, she realized, was blossoming into a natural leader, a mentor whose impact extended far beyond the walls of his revitalized shop. One afternoon, during a break, Eleanor found Arthur meticulously guiding a young woman named Clara through the complexities of a carburetor rebuild. Clara, initially shy, was now confidently handling tools, her brow furrowed in concentration. "She's a natural," Arthur murmured to Eleanor, a proud smile on his face. "Got a good feel for it. Reminds me of myself, when I was her age." Eleanor watched Clara for a moment, then turned to Arthur. "You've created something truly special here, Arthur. Not just a training center, but a family. A place where these young people feel valued, where they believe in their own potential." Arthur shrugged, a faint flush rising to his cheeks. "Just doing my job, Eleanor. Trying to give them the same chances my grandfather gave me." "It's more than that," Eleanor insisted, her voice soft but firm. "You've breathed life back into this community. You've given them hope, and it all started with a broken motorcycle and your refusal of payment." Her eyes twinkled with a knowing warmth. The first cohort of students thrived under Arthur's tutelage. They absorbed the knowledge, honed their skills, and embraced the opportunities presented to them. The sound of tools clanging, engines revving, and enthusiastic chatter filled the workshop, a vibrant symphony of learning and productivity. Local businesses, hearing about the program, began to reach out, offering apprenticeships and future employment opportunities to the graduates. The ripple effect Eleanor had envisioned was starting to become a tangible reality. Arthur, looking out at his bustling, vibrant shop, the hum of machinery, the laughter of students, felt a profound sense of satisfaction. The weight of financial anxiety had lifted, replaced by the fulfilling burden of responsibility. His hands, though still perpetually stained with grease, now held a different kind of purpose. He was no longer just fixing individual machines, he was helping to fix lives, to repair futures, to build a stronger, more resilient community, one skilled mechanic at a time. The quiet mechanic, through a simple act of profound kindness, had indeed launched a rural job initiative, and in doing so, had found his own unexpected, remarkable destiny. The journey of Quinn's repair, and Arthur Quinn himself, had only just begun. The initial success of the Quinn's Auto Cycle Repair Vocational Training Center quickly gained regional attention. What started as a local initiative to empower a struggling rural community soon became a beacon, a successful model for sustainable development. Arthur, once a solitary figure, found himself thrust into the spotlight, not as a celebrity, but as a respected expert and a living testament to the power of hands-on skill and community investment. Enrollment for the second cohort of students surged, far exceeding their initial projections. Young people from neighboring towns, hearing about the success stories of the first graduates, flocked to the center, eager to learn valuable skills that guaranteed employment. The vibrant energy of the students filled every corner of the transformed shop, a constant hum of learning and productivity. Arthur found himself adapting to a new kind of busy. His days were a whirlwind of instructing, mentoring, and managing the growing demands of the center. He hired 2 additional instructors, experienced mechanics, who shared his passion for teaching and his commitment to practical, hands-on learning. He meticulously oversaw the expansion of the curriculum, incorporating specialized courses in diesel mechanics and even small engine repair for the burgeoning agricultural sector in the region. His natural leadership, honed by years of independent problem-solving, blossomed in this collaborative environment. He still enjoyed getting his hands dirty, often joining students in complex repairs, guiding them through challenges with his quiet wisdom and unparalleled expertise. Eleanor Vance, immensely pleased with the rapid progress and the tangible impact of the program, became an even more frequent visitor. She brought with her potential donors, government officials, and representatives from other philanthropic organizations, all eager to learn from the Quinn's repair model. Arthur, initially uncomfortable in such formal settings, learned to articulate the program's success with a quiet confidence, his genuine passion shining through his humble demeanor. He spoke of his students, their dedication, and the immediate impact their skills were having on the local economy. Local businesses, once hesitant, now actively sought out graduates from the center. Farmers found skilled hands to repair their aging machinery. Small businesses had access to reliable vehicle maintenance, and even a burgeoning classic car restoration shop in a nearby town began exclusively hiring from Arthur's program. The Rural Revitalization Fund, initiated by Eleanor's vision and Arthur's dedication, was proving to be a resounding success, creating a tangible ripple effect throughout the region. One crisp autumn afternoon, as the leaves outside the workshop turned brilliant shades of red and gold, Arthur sat with Eleanor in his small, newly renovated office. The space, once a cramped, dusty cubby, was now an organized, functional hub, complete with a computer and a large white board filled with scheduling and project notes. "The numbers are incredible, Arthur," Eleanor said, a proud smile on her face as she reviewed a report on her tablet. "Every single graduate from the first cohort is employed, many in high-paying skilled trades right here in the region. Enrollment for the third cohort is already reaching capacity. We've even had inquiries from other states about replicating your model." Arthur nodded, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. "It's all thanks to you, Eleanor. You saw something here, something I didn't even see myself. You gave us the chance." Eleanor put down her tablet, her gaze thoughtful. "No, Arthur. I simply provided the resources. You provided the heart, the skill, the unwavering commitment. You are the reason this program has resonated so deeply. You are the embodiment of what we believe in. Empowering local talent, building from within." She paused, then continued, her voice softer. "And beyond the statistics, Arthur, you've given these young people something invaluable: dignity, purpose, and a belief in their own potential. That's a far greater return than any financial investment." Arthur looked out the window at the bustling workshop, at the students engrossed in their work, their faces illuminated by the bright overhead lights. He saw Clara, confidently diagnosing an electrical fault in a vintage truck, her brow furrowed in concentration, a mirror of his own dedication. He saw Marcus, a quiet young man who had struggled with traditional schooling, now expertly welding a complex joint, sparks flying, his face alight with pride. He saw the future, taking shape before his very eyes, built by the hands he was helping to train. "It feels good, Eleanor," he admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "To see them find their way, to know that this place, this old shop, is making a real difference." Eleanor reached across the desk, placing a hand on his, her touch warm and reassuring. "You are making a difference, Arthur, a profound one, and this is just the beginning. The Vance Global Philanthropy Group is prepared to expand our commitment, to establish a permanent endowment for the Quinn's Repair Training Center, ensuring its sustainability for generations to come." Arthur stared at her, stunned. A permanent endowment? That meant stability, long-term security, a guarantee that his grandfather's legacy and the future of countless young people would be secured long after he was gone. It was an overwhelming, almost humbling, gesture of trust and commitment. "Eleanor," he began, his voice thick with gratitude. She smiled, a knowing warmth in her eyes. "You deserve it, Arthur. This community deserves it. Your simple act of kindness, fixing a stranger's motorcycle on a desolate road, has blossomed into something truly extraordinary. You launched a rural job initiative, yes, but you also launched a movement built on skill, integrity, and the enduring power of human connection." Arthur looked around his transformed shop, no longer a symbol of quiet struggle, but a testament to vibrant opportunity. The scent of oil and metal still lingered, but now it was mingled with the fresh energy of ambition, of learning, of hope. He thought of that hot, dusty afternoon on Highway 73, of the broken motorcycle and the elegant stranger. He had simply acted on an innate impulse to help, refusing payment, asking for nothing in return. And in that selfless act, he had, unknowingly, opened the door to a future far grander than he could have ever conceived. He was no longer just Arthur Quinn, the poor mechanic. He was Arthur Quinn, the mentor, the leader, the cornerstone of a revitalized community, his hands, still stained with grease, now reaching out to build a legacy far greater than any engine he had ever repaired. The journey, he realized, was only just beginning, a testament to the unexpected ripple effect of a single, genuine act of kindness in a world desperately in need of repair.